like to.
Nice.
Yeah, I love to do that when I can. So. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I would love to have an ongoing relationship. I think this is something that I've always been really drawn to.
Yeah.
But I was raised in a really traditional Baptist, Christian home, and they always thought of, anything esoteric or, magical as, devil worship or witchcraft. But as I got older, like I said, I was always naturally drawn to these types of things. I just started to do my own research, and it's just a beautiful craft to me, so liberating. And I believe that some of my ancestors may have, practiced as well. So
yeah. Wow.
Wow.
I'm so happy that you're here. It's such an honor to read for you and to be of service to you today. I'm really curious to see what comes up.
Yeah, me too.
What do you want to focus on?
Do you mind if I put out my daughter's...
I was going to ask, actually, if I could see... Can I see her picture?
Sure, absolutely. This is her, but in the middle, there's more pictures of her.
Oh, my God.
And I like to take her with me everywhere I go. She has such a sweet energy. Oh. She was actually blind. She was blind, and she had a brain condition called holoprosencephaly, where the brain doesn't split. Normally, the two hemispheres of the brain don't split like they would. Yes, actually, yes. And so that part was actually missing. And so they told us, she would never be able to talk, walk, understand anything, wouldn't have any cognitive, abilities. But she touched so many people. I mean, she had a really powerful presence and spirit. We started documenting her journey. We would take videos and, just put them online to help people that was, going through something similar, or just to kind of humble people, because I think people may sometimes take their health or their children's health for granted. And my husband and I went through a lot, with the hospital, going in and out of hospitals, and she had a lot of medical equipment in the home, so it was very challenging, but I think that she was the greatest blessing of my life. I believe for a long time I believed that I couldn't have children, so she was my miracle,
Yeah.
And like I said, she touched so many people, and still today strangers contact me and talk about how she impacted them, how her story impacted them. And like I said, she had a really beautiful spirit and energy, so I'm still coming to terms with her loss and just trying to find direction and moving forward. Because of my curiosity and things outside of religion, and always being more of a spiritual person, I think that I can accept her death and intellectualize it in a way where I'm not completely devastated. Like, I understand, or I believe anyway, that her spirit is still alive. Her fleshly body is no longer with us, and but I believe that she's still here spiritually, and that her spirit is thriving, maybe on another paradigm or wherever she may be. So,
and she came into this little body for a reason.
Yes, absolutely.
She came in and she left, and I think it's very hard when we experience things like this to find the reason and to understand it on those deeper levels. And so, yeah, your desire, your quest to to go deeper, I have a lot of respect for, and I'm here for you, and I'm just very curious. So I want to ask, what is it that you want to focus on today, Shantanique?
I want to
get comfy.
I want to focus on, right now I'm having, even before I had Mia, I was struggling to really identify my purpose in life. So I think that should be the main thing that I focus on, purpose, and I guess to be more specific, career, because I know that I have natural gifts things that have been with me, since childhood. But as you get older, and in the way that this world functions in the economy, your gifts don't always necessarily translate to income. I love to write. I'm an artist. But I didn't have the money to go to college and do the things that go the traditional route anyway. So I end up having to work, customer service jobs or things like that to make ends meet. So that's primarily what I want to focus on, because I think that it is possible. I think maybe my mindset may be hindering me from being able to make a living off of my natural gifts and abilities. Maybe the way that I'm thinking about it is what's keeping it from manifesting, because you're able to have this beautiful livelihood, and
it took some
you
big
have
leaps of faith.
amazing reviews.
Oh,
My goodness, I have never seen anybody with so many positive reviews. I mean, big businesses, small businesses. My husband, we could not find one negative review.
Thank you.
Well,
and I have to meet this woman. But
But even so, the things that I saw was for me to see, and that brought me here. So I have the utmost respect for you and what you do. I think it's beautiful.
Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you're here. And I just want to say, helping people with that, with purpose and career path is something I really love to do. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, I didn't go to college. I didn't have the money to do that, and I didn't want to go in debt to go study something pretty esoteric that I was interested in that probably wasn't going to get me a job anyway. And it just didn't seem like a very practical thing to do, as much as I would have loved to have been independently wealthy and get to study just English, literature, and art and all that, right? That's probably what I would have done. But I see a lot of people, a lot of my friends go, deep in, student loan debt, wiping tables with those diplomas, right? And so, I worked retail for many, 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 many years. That's what I did, customer service, and it was a grind, and I found great places to work and, places that, sparked my creativity. But in the end, I was unfulfilled because, it really wasn't my path. It wasn't why I came here. Mm-hmm. And to make the leap into this work was terrifying because it was very impractical, I read tarot in New Orleans, but, when I moved back to Austin after Katrina, I was like, that's a New Orleans thing. That's not an Austin, Texas. Who's going to come to my backyard and, get a tarot reading? That's crazy, right? Yeah. And yet I had to trust in it. I had to trust in that calling. And I just know, Shantanique, I just feel it so strongly that you have a calling, and I just see you. I see your gifts. I see your power. This is your time, this is your time. And the heartbreak of losing your baby, going through this, which we have to make a lot of room for that grief, but she opened up your heart in these ways. And then she said, Mama, I'm going to go now. I'm going to give you some room to go unfold and to do what you came here to do.
Exactly.
I really see that, really believe that. So I'm very curious to see, because I was already want to jump in with you, because I've actually been so excited about reading for you ever since I got your email. And I just felt like a very deep connection to you already. And so
awesome.
Let's begin. Let's dive in with a little blessing. Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we
absolutely.
go. Okay. Great Spirit, great mystery, we humbly ask that you be present here with us today as we open the gates for Shantanique. Please shine a light on her path and make clear her way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so take some time, shuffle the cards, any old way, no right or wrong way to do it, whatever feels right for you. And as you do,
I'm glad you said that, 'cause I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. You could mix them all on the table. You could just hold them. No right or wrong way. But as you do, just sit with what's in your heart and what's in your mind, spirit and body.
Clarity.
We're gonna ask these cards to tell you what you most need to know at this time, and trust that they will.
Direction.
Whenever you're ready, put them back together. How's it feel?
Feels good.
Okay, good. All right, so let's take a moment to ground and center ourselves. Feeling completely present in the here and now. Yeah. And let's take 3 deep breaths, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, powerful. Okay. All right, my love. So I want to honor, first of all, really what is essential right now, which is healing your heart, and healing from this very deep wound, this very deep loss, right? And really taking some time to grieve, because this is very fresh, it all is just, she wasn't here for very long. She
Right.
she didn't leave that long ago, and it's the greatest loss that anyone can go through, as losing a child, and so
heavy.
it's very, very heavy. And we just want to take as much time, as you need to heal and to grieve and to feel your feelings without, really having to take care of anybody else, just to take care of you, right? Which is a tricky thing for someone that is as empathic as you are and compassionate as you are, because your whole life you've been picking up all the little broken baby birds off the ground and picking, trying to nurse them back to health. And
Yeah.
one of the
I was actually just saying that very thing to my husband the other day.
It's one of the big lessons that she actually came to teach you, which is, mama, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fill up your own cup so that you have something to offer, right?
Yes.
And to really love yourself completely and have that compassion for yourself completely. That's really the biggest, most number one thing that she wants you to know, and she wants you to do for yourself, is take care of you first, so that you have something to offer, to your relationships, to your loved ones, to your future children, should you choose to have them.
Yes.
but this has to come first because it hasn't always been there in the past. You know, you're very sensitive to other people's emotions, and you tend to take them on and feel them for them. And a lot of people in your family, you know, I mean, you're not like them. You know, you are deeply different. Feeling, deeply spiritual, deeply psychic, deeply in tune with all of that stuff. And a lot of them are really afraid of that stuff. And not just because of, you know, devil worship or whatever, you know, because what they're afraid of is really feeling, you know. And I get it. You know, for a lot of them, opening up those emotions are big cans of worms they don't want to deal with because there's a lot of history there.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of pain there. There's a lot of trauma there, you know. And what do you do with all that, right? Well, you just feel it. You just feel it all. You know, in your whole life, darling, you've probably been told, you know, you need to develop thicker skin, you need to wear armor, you need to toughen up, you need to not be so sensitive, you know. Yeah. And I just want to tell you, my love, your sensitivity is not a liability. I know it feels like that. Your sensitivity is a gift.
It's a part of who I am.
It's a part of who you are. You can't fight it, okay? You know, we live in this era where it's so easy to become cynical and jaded. And yet we need the dreamers and the mystics, the artists, the poets, the romantics, the visionaries more than ever.
To keep it real.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know? And here's the deal. You can't escape who you are. You know? But I just want to say this to you. Having like a normal person job is never going to work for you. Trying to be a normal, like, not magical, psychic, visionary poet, you know, is just not, like, is never going to work. Right. You know, you can't fight who you are. You have to let your freak flag fly and be you, you know, because that is so sacred. You know, who you are is unusual and magical and incredible. Part of why your husband fell in love with you.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
You are a priestess. That's why you came here. And to really honor that calling by healing yourself, by loving yourself, by really coming deep into connection with your highest self, with that deep well, with those deep, deep waters, you know, this is your birthright. You know, this is very ancient, and I do want to speak to your ancestors. Yes. And to the priestesses that you come from. You know, they are so happy for you to
I honor them.
Yeah, to come back to them and to honor to have that relationship with them, because they're there for you and they're guiding you. You know, to connect to them is a very powerful practice, and you know, is something that
that's them right there.
I know, right? They're letting themselves be known. You know, it's just it's one of the deepest forms of spiritual connection that are available. And, you know, that tradition, especially, you know, when we look at where it originated in Africa, and then how it was really ripped away, you know, for so many African people to not have knowledge of their ancestors, not have knowledge of their history, you know. And yet, despite that, it's so strong. The connection is so strong, it cannot be broken.
Exactly.
You know, so really tapping deep into that, and I'm going to come back to that because it's a huge part of like who you are and you know why you're here. Oh, there's this like really powerful energy coming through, and it's like really it's very moving to me to feel it. But to come back into your own power and to come back into your own agency to manifest exactly what you really want to be experiencing in this life, in this reality. And part of that means coming back into balance, right? Coming back into healing. And I want to talk a little bit about manifestation,
Okay.
Right? You know, because I think we're told a lot of like, you know, law of attraction, secret, like just dream it and just manifest that shit and just make it happen. And, you know, like it's just not that easy.
Yeah.
And the reality is that I believe that the secret to manifestation is to being in balance, and that it's really impossible for us to manifest very much when we're not in balance, right? It's really hard to be in balance when we live in a culture and a society that wants to keep us out of balance,
Right.
you know? So this is where we have to kind of get down onto an intrinsic level. How do we achieve that balance? How do we subvert that system, right? To be able to tend to ourselves and to tend to our own well-being, physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, right? You look at the magician says, I create my own reality. I'm responsible for my own happiness. I'm responsible for my own suffering. I'm not responsible for anyone else's happiness or anyone else's suffering, right? On the magician's altar are these 4 symbols. They represent the 4 suits in the tarot and the 4 aspects of human experience. Our emotions, cups, our body, our physicality, pentacles, our spirit, wands, and our intellect, our mind, swords. So think about when someone's trying to manifest something. For instance, people often get in touch with me, they want a love spell, they want love, right? And I'm like, well, do you love yourself? Not really. They're walking around with this empty cup, wanting someone else to fill it.
Right.
Can't attract what you are not.
Right.
Right? Can't have what you aren't. The only way to attract love is to be love. If we're coming at it from a place of loneliness, of self-loathing, what are we going to attract?
The very same thing.
Exactly. Someone who's like that. Right? You know, I grew up in a pretty poor family. I didn't really know we were poor until I transferred to a really wealthy school, and I was like, oh fuck, oh my god. Oh, okay.
Did you grow up in New Orleans?
I didn't. I grew up here, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I moved to New Orleans when I was 19. Yeah. But, you know, going to school with all these rich kids, I really resented them a lot, you know, because they were very arrogant and they rubbed my face in it. And it was hard, you know. And one of the things that I realized is I could never have abundance in my life as long as I resented rich people. You can't have what you hate. I'm never going to be someone that has material comforts in my life if I think people who have that are fundamentally awful.
Right. You have no understanding for that.
Right. You know. So I just want to talk about, you know, that underlying layer. Now that's also kind of tricky to talk about, you know, when we live in a system that is completely rigged.
Yeah.
You know, and we just have to like talk about that and acknowledge that.
Yeah, that has to be acknowledged.
It's a real thing, you know. But if we know what's up, we know what's real, you know, that's when we can get in and work magic to start subverting that and take that power back. And I see that balance changing. I see that power balance changing, that dynamic changing. It's changing.
Yeah.
You know, we're in it right now. The shift is happening.
Age of Aquarius.
It's potent and it's a powerful time to be alive, which is why people like you really need to come into their power.
Yeah.
You know, because you're going to shine a light and lead the way for a lot of other people who are not empowered. You know, who are very beaten down and very disempowered by all of that. You know, by years and years and years and generations of disenfranchisement, you know, and abuse. And so this is a potent time. But in order for you to realize that and to like come into that fully, we're just going to take care of you first. We don't worry about everybody else for the time being.
Right.
We're just going to work on healing healing your heart, you know. And that's hard to do because there's just, oh my gosh, you know, there's a lot of, oh yeah, there's just, you know, there's a part of you that has been living in the shadows, hiding, you know, and feeling less than
Right.
your whole life, you know, and there's a lot of shame there.
Yeah.
And shame is what disconnects us. Vulnerability is what connects us, you know. So this is where I see you getting ready to come in out of the cold, and we need to go find that part of you, that little alley cat, right?
Yeah.
That's like scared, you know, she's hungry and she wants love and she wants affection, but you know, you try to get close to her and she's like, you know, she runs away, you know. And
It's just so me.
I mean, it's just, this is it's an old story, and it's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of layers of fear and worry. And, you know, I also want to address the epigenetic trauma in your family.
Yeah.
You know, there's just generations. Any people who suffered genocide and persecution, you know, and enslavement are going to have a
Those
lot.
lasting effects.
It has deeply lasting effects. It's in our DNA, you know. I resonate that coming from, you know, people in my family being, you know, going through the Holocaust, and I mean, you know, just generations, many generations of religious persecution, ethnic persecution, you know, for being Jewish. And it gets in there when your family has experienced famine, war. It's very, very hard to step out of that like poverty mentality place, because it's really deep in there. So it manifests like in my family as like this peasant woman. She's like, no fuel for the fire, no food for the baby. Like there's just worry. There's like never going to be enough.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what she knows. That's what's comfortable. That's what's safe.
And that's my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my mother.
She lives in that. She's not, you know, doesn't live in her power because all she's known is lack. Right? And it's that fear of lack that has created all this inequality in our world, in our culture.
Yeah.
And we can look at it on all these levels. You know, we can say, okay, it's you know, oppression, men against women, or it's oppression, white people against people of color. Really what it is a dominator society that is oppressing, you know, the people who they can take from.
Fear of lack. Yeah,
It's
I like
fear of
that
lack.
terminology.
That's
Or
really
greed.
Yeah, it's greed. Well, you know, what greed is fear of not being enough. There's not enough. There's not enough to go around for everybody, which there totally is.
Yeah.
Enough for everybody.
Yeah.
So you need to say it's us versus them. You're different from me. You're outsider, so I can take more. Right? And this has been going on, oh my God, it's been going on for, you know, over 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And now we're in this paradigm shift where we're changing that story, right? But we have to change it from within first, you know? And a big part of this is you coming into your own power, you really acknowledging who you are as a creative being. You know, just the way that you walk through the world as a queen, because you are, you know, you have this, you're so regal, you know, you really are that. And when you walk with your head held high and little girls see you and they go, wow, she's so beautiful.
So I don't have to suppress it anymore.
No, you don't have to walk. You know, there's this part of you that's like hiding, you know? And I think a lot of that comes from, again, that us versus them, me versus you, you know, it comes from being told this is what's beautiful and this is what's not beautiful. And if you're not this, then you're not. You know, which we can look at and go like, that's insane.
Right.
You know? But it gets in there. It gets under the skin. And that's where it has to be healed on a deeper level. Right?
Yeah.
So that you can walk with that pride, you can walk with that joy, you can walk with that honoring, the self-honoring of yourself, and just being who you are. Just being who you are walking through the world is a revolutionary act.
Yes.
Truly. That's Queen of Wands.
100%.
That's Queen of Wands energy. Queen of Wands, I love her because she's like the ultimate feminist of the tarot. She doesn't give a fuck She's not like sitting like this, all like, you know, passive and like,
Right.
she's
I
like,
am what I am.
she's like strong warrior woman,
Yeah.
right? She is fierce. You know, she owns her sexuality, she owns her body, she owns her creativity, she owns her, it's all her Eros energy. Eros energy is life force energy. And this is something that's been very shamed in women. Don't be sexual, don't be creative, hide your body, be modest, right? You know, so we hide, so we have shame, right, around our bodies, around our sexuality, around who we are.
Yeah, it's crazy because I've always felt like her, you know, but I've always told myself that I need to have a man in my life, and the men that I bring in suppress that because they become so obsessive.
Oh, they're so terrified of female desire.
Yeah.
And female power. Is your husband now that way?
That's a hard one because he's not. He's a very gentle person, very loving. He's very much a people pleaser, and he sees, I think, all of the things that you, for instance, see in me, but he's insecure, meaning I feel like he's obsessed with me sometimes, or like he feels like he can't live without me, or, you know, that I'm all that he has. And I had a conversation with him similar to what you were saying about self-love, you know, because he always tells me that he's so in love with me, but everything that he does is for me. I don't see him take care of himself.
He needs to. You got to fill up your own cup. It's not I'll take care of you and you take care of me.
Right.
It's I'll take care of me for you and you take care of you for me. And then we get to enjoy all the great benefits of two people taking amazing care of themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
He doesn't understand why I try to emphasize the importance of him loving himself and caring for himself, because he feels like, oh, it should be enough that I worship you all the time. It should, you know, doesn't that flatter you? Any woman would want that. And I'm like, no. I want you to be you, you know? I want you to be the best you. Yeah. And then we can build, you know, together.
From a place of mutual respect.
Yes.
You know, from a place of mutual honoring. Yeah. So he has some work to do, and hopefully, you know, he'll come to a place where he's able to do that. But you honoring and holding in your own strength, you know, because you're also kind of a people pleaser, and it's kind of like these two people pleasers bending over backwards, you know, trying to like do everything for each other, but then like not really taking care of themselves, and it's just kind of like the blind leading the naked a little bit, you know. So what's going to have to happen is you start creating some stronger boundaries and saying, honey, sweetie, baby, love, and you know, I'm going to go do my thing.
Okay. And when I do that, I feel guilty about it. So doing that and not feeling that guilt or shame that you mentioned before.
Yeah, here's the big piece is that, you know, the secret to a happy relationship, this is something my grandpa used to say. A very wise man, my grandpa. He would say the secret to a happy marriage is I do whatever I want and I allow my wife to do the same. Don't do shit you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for his happiness. Someone would say, oh, you're making me mad, you disappointed me, you broke my heart. It's like, well, I did what I wanted to do, and then you chose how you wanted to feel about it.
Right.
You're responsible for your own
the
feelings.
Power to choose.
Guilt is emotional manipulation.
Yeah.
When someone's trying to guilt trip you, they're trying to tell you, I want you to feel this other way. I want you to feel differently from how you do. I want you to feel bad.
Or you should feel this way.
You should feel bad. What loving partner wants our partner to feel bad? We want our partner to feel joyful. Right?
It makes no sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we're able to say like, okay, well, you know, you're trying to manipulate my feelings, make me feel a certain way, and I see that, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to participate in that. So you're welcome to be upset if that's what you want, but I'm going to go do what I want to do because that's what's good for me, with respect to you. Not doing anything to harm you. You know, I'm just doing what feels good for me, which might be to go do some self-care, it might be to take a nap, which might be to, you know, to rest. The tricky thing for you about self-care is that, you know, your parents
I've never done it. That's the tricky thing.
Yeah, they don't.
And I didn't see my mother do it, and she doesn't know who my father is, or at least that's what she tells me. Because I know that she was raped by a relative when she was very young, 8 years old, and then she had me when she was 16 years old. But she tells me now that she doesn't know who exactly my father is because she was promiscuous and, sleeping with a lot of people. And she's kind of dragged me through that. I've had paternity tests with 4 different men at this point, and that's always been a void too. And that's a part of the main reason why I've always seeked, these protectors, these men that I feel like I have to have in my life to validate myself. Always. I've never taken the time to just be alone in myself and take care of myself. I've always told myself I have to have a man.
You need a man to provide you, protect you, procreate with you.
Exactly.
And what happens when you can acknowledge we don't need a man for that, but that we might want a partner as a companion, as a friend, a lover, but first we have to do it for ourselves. And I want to say something about your mom. Your mom has never been able to do self-care because your mom doesn't have a sense of self, and that is something that's really common when people have experienced a really traumatic boundary violation, especially at such a young age. Think of like your sense of self as like a kiddie pool, like inflatable pool, right? And like all the self-love is in the pool, right? Well, then someone like drives their car, invades that sense of self, right? There's a violation of someone forcing their will on onto this sacred space, right? And everything just flows out because there's no more boundary of selfhood. Even if the car left, it it's still broken. And because she never got the healing that she needed, and she embodied a lot of shame. Now you're dirty, you're nasty, you're this, right? Rather than like, oh my God, you were raped as a little girl, like, you need help, right? You need care, you need tenderness, She never got any of that. So, she does the best she can, but she has a lot of pain, and you kind of came into her orb, just wanting to take care of mommy, and just wanting to heal her and help her, but then your own sense of self, where is that? To have a sense of individuality, and to get that unconditional love, which if your mom doesn't have it for herself, how can she offer it to you? Right? So healing a lot of this parental stuff, is really important. And especially because a lot of people, what they do, sometimes they just get pregnant and have kids and like, well, your mom was 16 and it just happened. She wasn't ready. She didn't have the tools. A lot of people have kids because they think, well, I'm just going to give everything that I didn't get to my kids, And it's one of the reasons why, Mia said, Mommy, you're not ready yet, because you're going to try and give me everything.
Yeah.
And you got to give it to yourself first so that you have something to offer, So we're not just making it about giving that nurturing to that little baby.
Right.
And that's a hard lesson. That's one I've had to sit with,
It's one I'm thankful for, but very, very hard lesson.
Very painful, So it's going to be a lot to unpack. I want to say this. I don't want to stir stuff up, but I think your mom, she does know who your dad is. I think she doesn't want to tell you.
You're not the first person to tell me that, first reader to tell me that.
She's holding that secret, and it's a hard one, and it might be maybe better that you don't know, but I think that there's what is there is a big knot is a big wound that you're carrying because of your parentage, which are two very wounded people. Hurt people hurt people.
Exactly.
You know, and to heal that.
Could it be possibly better for me to not know who he is? I've never, I don't know. I've never considered that as a possibility, that it may be better for me to not know. I've always told myself that because I'm so connected to, my ancestry, my heritage, that I have to know, because it's a part of me. I want to know that side of my family, because my mother's family, just because I'm the oddball there, maybe these people are like me,
Yeah, there's a desire. I know that's there. But it might stir up things that are more painful. I can't tell you what to do, and I can't tell you to stop looking, because I think that desire to know where we come from is incredibly strong, and I think it's important that we know our story. I think your mom thinks that if you knew, it would destroy you. And what I want to say is that, there's so many layers. There's so much stuff that your mom doesn't even talk about, because she doesn't even have the ability to process any of it. That for you to do a lot of the healing for yourself, which means healing a lot of where you come from and a lot of those layers, of how she was so unprotected that she fell through the cracks.
Yeah.
That nobody was really watching out for her. Nobody was really protecting her. And it's just a lot to carry, my love, But I really want to encourage you towards healing that. And I think one of the big ways that you do a lot of healing is through writing. And writing about your story and writing about your history and, processing it that way, if you feel like, you can talk to your mom, and you want to hear.
There's a disconnection there. She won't open up to me. Right now, I feel like it's almost turned into resentment. Our relationship is so far gone. It may not even be conducive to me.
Well, she's not really ever been able to give you that unconditional love and support and nurturing. She was a baby. She was a child when she had you, and she didn't know how to nurture herself, much less nurture you.
Right.
So what we're talking about.
I've watched her do that for, my other two sisters, and now her first grandchild, which she didn't do for Mia, so that hurt me a lot too. I felt like she was ashamed of Mia and her condition.
Yeah. Here's what we got to do, is a lot of reparenting and remothering. That you have to go find that little girl, little Shantanique, and picture her and say, hey baby, come here, and you scoop her up and you put her on your lap. You wrap your arms around her and you say, I love you, and I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to protect you. You are my priority. And we're really just remothering, and in some ways refathering, because there's this big dad-shaped hole, which has more power than if you had even kind of like a half-assed dad.
Yeah.
Like a dad like sitting in the lazy boy reading the paper, like not really engaging, would be easier, would be something than this big question mark, because it's like a black hole. It exerts this force, that wants to suck everything into it. So you didn't have that male principle, or that person to like teach you how to change a tire or do your taxes or ride a bike or any of the dad stuff that dads are supposed to do to, teach you how to adult, and do all that stuff. And so, this is a period of respite and healing, just acknowledging those wounds so you can come back into your power and rebalance this to get to where you really want to go. And one of the things that I really see for you is that you have a career, you have a calling in you, and it's the work that you would do for free. It's the work that you would do if money were no object. It's the work that you would do, you know, if you were a millionaire and you didn't need the money. Right? And it's not about like, well, what is it, you know? It's, I want you to really just sit with how you want to feel. So when I was working my last day job, I worked at this shop. It was a really cool shop. It was awesome. I really liked it in so many ways, but I was unfulfilled and I was really bored, you know, and I would daydream and I would think about how I wanted to feel. And I just knew that I wanted to work from home because I just hate having to get in a car and go and be somewhere at a certain time. It just really doesn't, it sounds silly, it just doesn't work out for me at all.
I'm the same
just
way.
not great at it, right? I'm just a homebody and I like to be here. And I just knew that I wanted to help people. I didn't know how, but I knew I wanted to go really deep with them and I wanted to work one-on-one with them. And I knew I wanted to be my own boss and I wanted to make my own schedule. I knew I wanted to be free to travel when I wanted. And I was like, cool. Well, that's not any job I've ever heard of. So anyway, let me know if I can help you find anything. You know. And it took me like years from that point of like, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, or maybe that. You know, and it's not about what you can do. It's not about what you're good at. There's lots of stuff that I'm good at, but it's not in line with how I wanted to feel. Right? How you want to feel in your body, how you want to feel. What time do you want to wake up? I start at 2 p.m. because I'm not a morning person. I work until 8, you know, because that's what works for me. I see 5 clients a day because that's my capacity. That's what works for me. Right? And I had to create that for myself. But when I started, I didn't wake up and be like, oh, I'm going to be a tarot reader. I mean, I had so many friends who were like, Angel, you should read tarot. You love that. Do that. And I was like, yeah, that's not a job. That's stupid. That's crazy. But I felt a calling and I was like, well, I'm just going to do it. You know, maybe if I build it, they will come. I never was thinking about it as this is my career. You know, it actually kind of had to hit me over the head of like, no, this is your career. And that's when I, you know, like quit the other things I was doing on the side eventually, you know, when I finally trusted that I had the ability to do this work that I was really passionate about, that I would do for free, that I would do if I were a millionaire. I'd still want to do it. Right? And I just know that. It's the thing that you could do over and over. It never gets boring, never feels like drudgery, never feels like toil. And here's the deal. We all got to work. We all have to have an occupation. It's just part of the deal. Right? We all got to keep the lights on. We all got to keep food in the fridge. You know? But I really, truly believe in my heart of hearts that all of us deserve to have work that is fulfilling to us. And there have been times in my life where I was sweeping floors and that was fulfilling to me. And I really enjoyed it and I got a lot out of it. And then I grew and I evolved, right? And I came into a place where I was wanting to do deeper things with my gifts.
I've been thinking right now, I want to work with babies and children, but I'm thinking, well, is that just because of my, you know, missing Mia? I do still have, I've always had that nurturing, you know, spirit, and
I think that
always wanted to be a mother.
I want to encourage you to explore that, because if it brings you joy, the motivation doesn't really matter. That being said, I'm going to encourage you also just to get curious about what happens when you nurture yourself. And what I found, and just because I think that we have some similarities, so I'm going to share, you know, something about myself with you, which is that I when I was younger, I worked with children and babies and loved it. Great with kids, love babies, love children. And I always wanted to be a mom, like bad. Like I would listen to people's birth stories or like read like mom blogs, and I would just be like sobbing. And to me, the idea of not having a child seemed like the greatest tragedy that could ever happen.
I was there for a long time.
And then something interesting happened when I started nurturing myself, which is that I realized that a lot of my desire to give that nurturing was displaced. I was trying to give the nurturing that I didn't get rather than giving it to myself. You know? And while there's still a part of me that would love to be a mother, my priorities have changed.
Can you share how you gave it to yourself?
It's been a journey. It's been a journey, you know?
Yeah, like in different ways, because I try to think of that, but then I just draw a blank. Like, I don't know.
So one of the first things I want you to do is to get a picture of little Chantanique.
Okay.
You know, and make a little shrine. Let's make a little altar for her.
Okay.
And put some little candles. Give her some little crystals. There's some candies. There's some toys. There's some flowers. Maybe you go to the toy store.
Okay.
There's an amazing toy store called Terra Toys up north that I love.
Okay.
And get a little basket.
All the things that I loved.
Yeah, and say, honey, pick out whatever you want. And let that inner child get whatever she wants. And go over to the stuffed animal section and let her pick out a stuffed animal. Not you. Let that inner child pick it out.
Okay.
You know? And so in every day, in every way, we really spend time with that part of ourselves. Say, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do for you? How can I help you? You know, and it's different for everybody. You know, my mom was a really amazing woman, but she did not, I think, really want to be a mom. Mm-hmm. You know, I think maybe she thought she did, and then I came and she was like, oh God.
Yeah.
You know, and I think she regretted it, you know. And she was not like the most demonstrative, nurturing. She wasn't like a mommy mom. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get a lot of touch. I didn't feel seen or heard. She was very preoccupied. Mm-hmm. And then she got sick, and then she died when I was 7. So there's just, you know, big loss and longing for that connection, you know. But it's also sometimes kind of scary to receive it because it's kind of unfamiliar, right? So, you know, I've had to have a lot of patience with that part of myself that wants love and connection, but also is like that little alley cat, right? Runs away from it. You know, one of the things that I help myself do to feel seen and heard is writing in my journal. Is writing, because I'm also a writer. You know, and sometimes I'll notice I kind of want to gloss over something and be like, you know, who cares? It's not.
Should do that though, and
you know,
do open mic again, because I used to write poetry a lot, and I would do open mic, but I would always have to be under the influence of something to have the confidence. You know, this is
liquid courage.
A few years ago.
Yeah. What if, you know, just to trust, and I found that as well, like being seen and heard. You know, for me, singing and, you know, letting other people see me, which was, you know, I confronted a lot of the shame, right? And the fear and the nervousness. And so, you know, the more we do it, the easier it gets. And to, you know, to perform, to put yourself out there, you know, it's hard because you have this, like, incredibly high standards of perfection.
Oh, yeah.
This inner critic, girl, oh my God, it's just, like, out of control. And, you know, it's like you don't let yourself do a lot of stuff because you're, like, worried it's going to suck.
Yeah,
and that's the thing about, you know, being a creative person that you have to work with, is that, like, a big part of it is sucking. A big part of it is, like, writing really shitty first drafts and doing stuff that's crap and singing songs that don't sound very good, and
but
you know,
just letting it happen.
But when you love yourself unconditionally, you know, think about a loving mom, and the little kids like, look what I did, and they're like, oh, it's the best, I love it, you know, right? And if you could love yourself that way, of being like, that's great, honey. So I'm going to send you with some resources for healing, but I also am going to send you with a couple some things to read that I've written about that path that I think might be helpful for you.
Okay.
I just see you working so hard to do everything right and to please everything and to be everything to everyone, and, you know, to try and get this love from people, you know, to be lovable, to be worthy. When you're already lovable, you're already worthy, and you don't have to try so hard. You can just be you. And to really know that, you can, like, know that here, but to really know that on a deep level and integrate that, you know, this is the beginning of that journey. And a lot of it is kind of, you know, stepping away from a lot of the stuff that doesn't work, and you know, changing the channel, being conscious when that inner critic is talking shit to you.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. So one day I had a tarot reading gig. They hired me to come and I got the time wrong. And so I was like in my underwear making eggs, and I got the call, and they're like, where are you? And I was like, what do you mean? And then I was like, fuck, shit. Oh my God. Like, got dressed, I get in the car, you know, and I'm driving, and I realize I hear this voice in my head, and it's this like low level, it's like this radio station on in the background. You fucked up, you stupid, I can't believe you fucking did this, you know, just the inner critic is just like letting me have it. And I was like, whoa, shit, this is not okay. I had to consciously change the radio station, change it to the Loving Mama station. And she was like, hey honey, it's okay, you know what, we all fuck up. Today's your day. You fucked up. Oops. You didn't mean to. You know, it was an accident. It's going to be okay. You're going to just go and you're going to do your best. And that's all you can do. You say you're sorry, you do your best. That's all you can do. You're okay. You're not a bad person. I love you anyway. And I just kept that station on until I got there. And you know what? It was that allowed me to get in there and to do my job.
Right.
Because if I'd had that other station on, I would have just been a hot mess. I would have been a wreck.
Yeah.
You know? But instead being like, all right, you know, you're not perfect. That's okay. I love you anyway. I love you anyway.
I like that. Now I can do that.
We can do that.
I think I can focus on little Shantanique and mother myself.
Yeah. And all that mothering that you want to give Mia, you know, she's asking you to give it all to you.
Yeah.
Right? And saying, look, you know, she awakened that love in your heart. You know, and I want to speak to her perfect imperfection. You know, I look at your mom not being able to connect with her and how heartbreaking that is, you know, knowing your mom was ashamed of her granddaughter for something that she had, you know, no control over. Your daughter was perfect, and you loved her unconditionally, you know, despite what some people would consider defects. To you, she was perfect, and she was your baby, and she was your angel.
Yes.
You know, and I just want to hold space for loving the things that we are told are wrong or unlovable or broken. You know, because if we can find that love, you know, and that compassion to give to someone else, we can find it for ourselves. So whatever we think are like the worst, most unlovable, most ugly traits about ourselves, right, that then we can find love and compassion for, you know. And I know that that's part of what she really wanted to teach you.
Yeah, I think that she definitely fulfilled her purpose.
She's your teacher.
What her purpose was.
She's your angel, you know, and she's with you all the time. Do you have an ancestors altar that you work with?
I don't, and I've been knowing for a while that I need to create one, and so.
Would you like some help with that?
Yes, absolutely.
I would be honored to help you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because we going to be moving soon into a new space, so I think it would be a great opportunity to do that. And I already know which candles I want. But yeah, I would love some direction in it also.
Okay. Well, I would be really honored to share what I have learned from my teacher, you know. And I'm still learning, but it's been a practice that has been very, very nourishing and very, very helpful for me.
Okay.
And any support that we can get for you is going to be really awesome, you know, to help move you forward.
I really explored like crystals and herbs and candles more. So I know that they all have certain...
There's a healing bath I also want to recommend to you. This is something we can talk about later. But are you familiar with Yamaya? Do you know who that is? Mm-hmm. I really feel her strongly for you. I really feel her coming up for you very strongly. And she's just this, you know, she's the loving Mother Ocean. And she can hold all your tears, You know, all those salty tears, she has room for them. She has unconditional love for you. And she's very...
It's amazing that you say that, because she's been coming to me in the past couple weeks. I was being drawn to the Orishas and certain videos, and it's just been very prevalent lately. And I get a lot of signs like that all the time. A lot of things that you've said, I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing, because I've gotten, you know, certain signs or certain things, you know, the repetition. And so it's like, oh my God, this is exactly where I need to be, what I need to be doing. And this is the path. You know?
Well, I want to support you on that, and I really feel it for you too. And I kind of was like holding back, and I was like, I just gotta say it. But yeah, you know, I think that a relationship with the Orisha will be, will be really helpful for you, and really.
It's something that I can connect with, really, because that's something I've been really searching for ever since I, you know, started to become. Ever since I started, you know, leaving the church and, you know, going out on my own.
You've always been spiritual. You've always been spiritual. And it just, you know, it was shamed out of you. And, you know, I don't have a problem with Christianity, Christian religion, but there's a lot of shame there. And I think that it's very problematic for, you know, particularly for African people and African American people who are forced into a religion and stripped of their own spirituality and their own power.
That's, you know? How I feel about it. It's very spiritually oppressing when we are such a spiritual people already. Deeply.
You know, and to lose those practices, to lose those traditions, to lose those things that really nourish your spirit, you know. And I think that there's room to hold both. There's room to hold, you know, and I think that's the thing that people don't understand, is that they you know, it doesn't have to be a conflict.
Right.
You know.
Right. So respect it.
Yeah.
For what
it is. And to have respect for Jesus Christ or the saints or Virgin Mary or whatever. You know, that being said, you know, I would never proselytize, and I'm open to a lot of different, you know, fields of spirituality, you know, paganism, earth-based religions, you know, that come from, you know, where my family comes from. But I've also been called, you know, it's a relationship that's been there since I was a little girl, and I've basically chosen to stop running from it, even though it's, you know, it's an intense relationship, and it's a lot of responsibility, you know, to honor my relationship with the Orisha, but I am moving on that path towards Ifa, and, you know, want to just say that, you know, there are a lot of different paths, and I have respect for them all, but, you know, when you're working with the traditional West African, Nigerian, Yoruban religion, it's not syncretized, it's not mixed with Catholicism. Right. Like Lakumi or Santeria or, you know, Candomblé, or a lot of the African diasporic religions that were forced to hide and syncretize with the Catholic saints. Okay. You know, and so, and not like, you know, much respect for those religions, you know, but to just go straight to the source, you know, of like where, you know, most likely you probably come from, and really where we all come from. You know, I mean, I struggle with my teacher, you know, being like, what do I do? I'm like, I feel weird about, you know, I'm white and this is not my culture and it's not my heritage. And she was like, honey, we all come, you came from here. Right.
And it's so prevalent, you know, in us, and some of us more so, you know. I've always felt that.
You can't run from it, you know. You can run, but you can't hide, you know. And eventually you have to say, like, okay, you know, I'm ready to serve, and I'm ready to honor those powers, you know, because they're going to change your life. It's going to change your path and give you your tools, exactly, because they're a part of you. Yeah. And I just really see that strongly in you, and I want to honor it, acknowledge it.
Absolutely, because I think that's the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, it really is. I want to give you this too. You know, these are some resources if at some point you felt like you wanted to do some deeper healing. Somatic experiencing and EMDR are two modalities that treat trauma in the body. You just got a lot of trauma. And these two practitioners in particular, I think would be good. You know, you could talk to them about insurance or sliding scale, you know, whenever you're ready. There's also these podcasts that are really interesting that I think you would enjoy, and these two books. And then my personal website where I do a lot of my writing is here. And the two pieces, you can read whatever write a lot about magic and healing and my own journey. But these two pieces in particular, one is called matrescence and the other is fledgling heart. But matrescence is a word that means it's the process of becoming a mother. And it's kind of about my journey with that. It might help you to read that. And then fledgling heart is a piece I wrote about self-love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I'm probably going to send you some other stuff. So just stay in touch with me. Any questions, anything that comes up, you know, when you're ready to do your ancestors' altar, you know, and I can even put you in touch with my teacher. You know, she's really amazing. You know, if at some point you feel like you're ready to start talking to her about that.
Yeah, about actual practice. Yeah, I think that's definitely where I want to go.
I'm just taking little bitty baby steps and reading, and, you know, we can, you know, share resources on that too if you want to, you know, study or learn, you know.
Do you mind if I take a picture of this?
Please take a photo. Please.